Uh, yeah. 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 Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of River City 93. I am decidedly not Elliot. I'm Matt. I've got Kate here with me today. Kate, what is up?
Well, I'm sure everyone's been waiting with bated breath to hear how my movie went today. I did go, I did see Ben-Hur. Elliot was right. There is leprosy. Elliot is right. It was 10 hours long. I did not know that it was going to be more gladiator than Lawrence of Arabia. And I also did not know that Jesus was going to be involved for large stretches of the plot, although you do never see his face, which I did think was maybe the only inspired choice in that regard in that film. I'm not going to say I recommend it, but if you do watch it, Godspeed.
How many times did you think to yourself, Ben, hurry up?
A lot. The reason it's 4 hours long is because every scene, every actor takes like 10 seconds between their lines as they just stare mournfully at each other and like contemplate the evil choices of Rome. So they all needed to Ben hurry the heck up for all
Well,
the movie.
funny you should mention, guys, acting slowly and, getting everybody to, think, oh, you should hurry up and, making people frustrated as a result. Because I spent my Friday night, watching the Kickers in Knoxville, and I I'm scared that my assessments the last couple of weeks might be coming might be right, and that this team uh, might be a little bit boring.
They heard our prayers. They said, "Okay, you don't want us conceding so many goals." And we said, "Wait, actually, so that wasn't it wasn't just the goals that we were worried about, it was more like the results, but like, I mean, yeah, like it's great that you're not conceding as many goals." And they said, "Great, because we're still never going to win any games. We're just not going to concede as many goals in doing so. And we're not going to score any goals ourselves."
Yeah,
Great.
you know what the worst thing about all this, and we'll talk plenty about all the details that went into it. The worst thing is that for about 85 minutes of that game, I was thinking, huh, I mean, we look better.
Right. I'll take a draw against last year's champions. Or, okay, maybe.
Yeah. Uh, but if you're listening to this and you can either didn't watch the game, which I mean, maybe good life choice for you, but very interesting choice of listening to this podcast and not watching the games. Appreciate it. Uh, or you couldn't put two and two together from our couple minutes of riffing on the game thus far. The Kickers lost 1-0. Late goal. I think it was like 87th minute. I'm not going to try to say this guy's name. It looks like he's probably got some kind of Russian, Central Asian, uh, background based on that name, but I wouldn't even know where to start on pronouncing it. So good on you.
His first name is Dennis. So, we got scored on by Dennis.
Yeah, way to go, Big D. Nice header. All right, but it's okay. Let's kind of rewind back, to right around 6 o'clock, on Friday when we found out what the lineup was looking like. Any initial reactions that you had, anything that stood out to you from the lineup card that we saw on Mob Instagram, wherever you prefer to get your kickers information?
I think the big one that was all staring us in the face is Espinal back in the starting lineup after we weren't sure where he was on his recovery journey. So it was great to see him in the lineup. I would have actually liked to see him on the field. That was the 1-2 punch. It was great to see him in the lineup, and I didn't see him again all night.
Well, we'll get to that, but yeah, I think seeing Darwin, in the starting 11, I think it was a big surprise for me, because we just saw him back for his first appearance last game, and it was, shorter stint off the bench, which completely reasonable, completely normal, for a guy coming back from an injury. I think he'd probably been out for at least a month now. We had seen photos of him, from like training sessions, so we knew he was on his way back. But I would have thought, especially going onto a baseball field, Darren might have eased him all the way back in with an eye towards maybe this Wednesday for his first full 90 back. But I think that had to be an immediate plus for me. Because we can't have good things around here without something on the flip side of it is no Tyler Freeman. I think we suspected that after he had to get subbed off in the first half last game. But yeah, one of our offense pieces comes back, so no, we must be balanced. Pull
Yes.
back off the field, and we saw Ali Sasanka get his first start as a kicker in his place.
Yep. And if anyone noticed, we were a bit shorthanded on the bench. We got some intel at the watch party from the front office that the flu has hit the Richmond Kickers this past week. So that's real, I guess, if you want to add it to the excuses list. That is a real thing that happened. Of course, classic. So that is why we had fewer faces on the bench than we might normally see.
I I heard that through you guys too. I don't know if that. I don't doubt that maybe some guys had flu-like symptoms. I don't think that is a bench result because this is not a deep roster to begin with, just in raw numbers. So we already talked about Freeman, accounted for. Niels, still presumably injured. Ethan Cause still presumably injured. Richmond suspended, because of the red card. I feel like Landon might be the only guy who unaccounted for otherwise, and I think I had heard that it was more just like kind of precautionary being held out last week, so maybe he was it, but I think everybody else is
They
even
had an excuse.
other than the kid keeper, everybody else is accounted for. So yeah, maybe they could have toted him along, and we could have rocked the always fun two keeper on the bench approach. But I don't think we were necessarily shorthanded, and for everything else we're going to talk about, I didn't see anybody out there that at least appeared to be struggling fitness wise. Right.
That's
So
one thing they got going for them.
So yeah, so if they were banged up from the flu, like they fought through it and did not show any signs, at least that my untrained eye could pick up on about it.
Huge shout out to the medical team, the refueling team. You're doing great work.
Yeah, maybe work on the rehab a little faster for some of these guys, but yeah. All right, cool. So yeah, those were some of the things that were noticeable right away, like 6 guys on the bench. But we only get 5 subs, so that's not the end of the world. It's not like times in the past where we've seen teams roll up with 3 subs total, where it's like,
and still with no injuries reported on the injury list.
Of course, of course, never. There was not a lot to talk about in this game. Kate, I don't want to speak for you. I'm not too interested in just kind of going through and this guy had a shot, then this guy had a tackle, then.
Right. I think the one trend that we saw that started in the first half was, so we've seen Austin Amer on set pieces, which is not, you wouldn't necessarily think your like defensive central midfielder is going to be your set piece taker, but he is. If you were at the VCU preseason match, he scored a direct free kick goal in that. So that was an early indication that he was not just on set pieces, but willing to go for goal on like directly from them. And we did see that twice in this match, including in the first half. He did hit the outside of the frame of the goal. That was I don't know if, does that count as a shot on target? I don't think that counts because it technically hits the.
No, I think the technical rule is, it if it didn't touch anybody and it would have gone in.
Okay. So that did not, according to the stats, only had one shot on target in the first half, which was a pretty good shot, to be
Yeah.
fair. Forced a great save from Muji Marana on the half volley. Pretty, also not necessarily who we would have thought maybe the shots would be coming from. And then Austin had two different direct free kicks where he went for goal and got it.
Mm-hmm.
He made the keeper make a decision at least. So it's good to see that on the field, but on the flip side of that, which we did see from he's also taking corners, or it was in this match, and those were less impressive to me. So I do think that's sort of an interesting thing that we'll have to keep looking at. Is happy with the set pieces from the center of the field, but if we're supposed to be getting goals from set pieces, and then the corners are, the corners, all of them were essentially harmless. So that's pretty disappointing.
The second half ones, I'll give them a little bit of a pass on, just because you've got that goddamn outfield wall right there on you for those. So that's weird. And if you don't get a lot of experience on that, I can imagine it might throw off your mechanics a little bit. So slight pass on that. Yeah, I mean, I think some people were mentioning this, like, oh, why are we having these outswingers get taken? Stopped and thought about it. I don't know if we actually have a dominant left footer on the field.
I don't
Yeah.
pay attention to those things, so I don't know.
Oh, I mean, you think about
I believe you.
Think about just how what we've seen so far. Like Darwin, he plays on the left wing. We
Mm-hmm.
know what his preferred move
Yep.
is cut in on the right and rip it into the far post. It works a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Hayden, we know he likes to kind of do the same exact thing, or when he's on the right, go to the wing there. Maybe Vinberg, but I think he's probably a guy you would want in the middle to try to score, off the corner. And yeah, so it might just be no good options here.
Yeah.
Austin, go have at it, boy.
Yeah. I know, because in the first match we were seeing they were running some sort of set, like the Nova FC game, and the home opener. They were running the routine of playing it past the frame of the goal and having someone head it back across, which also really didn't work very much since they kind of did the exact same routine every single corner. So I guess at least it looks they weren't running that routine, but the new routines also were not looking particularly effective. So if that's one place where we're supposed to be getting our goals, back to the drawing board.
Yeah, the other kind of tried and true play, that very loose word choice there, is still kind of the played into space, let Josh or Luca Dorado run onto it. Not gonna lie, I thought Dorado was going to score like 81st minute or so. He got on the ball about 20 25 yards from goal and just absolutely corked one. Unfortunately, a little bit wide, but at least what I've seen of him so far, he hits a ball harder and purer than anybody else on this team. I think it's getting him into those spots where he can be able to take. I don't know if he's a running chase kind of guy. Like Kirkland can play that game. I don't know if it's necessarily Luca's strength. I think we want to get more ball at his feet and just let him do his thing.
Yeah, agreed. Which, yeah, they're still figuring that out.
Yeah. Who else stood out to you, Kate?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, one player did not stand out, which was disappointing and is hopefully just a hangover from recovering from injury. I was really disappointed that Espinal did essentially nothing. You could be forgiven for not knowing he was in the team in the first place on the field. Hopefully this is because he is coming back from injury and is not yet at his full capacity, but he was playing, sorry, this is me rechecking what the lineup looked, the setup was.
think he was nominally playing left wing.
Right. And so I think what I noticed, the ball was not moving down the wing on that side at very, very little. We were seeing a lot of Muji Marana on the ball, which, he had a great shot in the first half, but he was the one putting crosses in on the right, which is also, we kind of, like, Fatmob even put him at the wing because he was playing up so much during the match. So I literally didn't even see Espinal on the field, to be honest. And so that was a little disappointing, but it meant that the other wing was more productive, and at least we saw a little value coming from that side. If, the focus was on marking Darwin out of the match, it did give the other side a little bit more room to roam, which they made decent work of. I mean, it wasn't great. No goals were scored, but you could at least see the effort there. But it's obviously disappointing when you have someone who's supposed to be the game changer on the field, still have to figure out how to actually let him do that.
Yeah, I think we saw a couple flashes from Tarek Pondholzer out there. Not at the full level of what I think we hope and need him to be at, but flashes. In there, he was the one who sent that cross into Marana. He definitely got dribbly a few times, which I think is probably going to have to be a good thing for this team. Given our preponderance for liking the long ball so far, having somebody who can hold and can dribble, make a little bit of space, that's good. Still plenty room to grow there, but it was something at the very least. I'm going to take the lowest hanging fruit possible here.
I was about to say, we got to say it.
Yeah, March MVP. If there's anybody who says the March MVP is anybody other than Jan Fillion, you're either related to that other person or you don't know ball.
Yeah.
Because that dude, yes, we're 1 month in. I think he's probably got to be close to being locked up signing the season already.
Yeah.
Like unless he literally throws the ball into his own goal at some point.
Yeah. Great player.
We found a dude.
The best part is seeing a keeper who we haven't seen in a while. Every time he's forced to make a save, and for the most part he does, just turn around and start screaming at his back line about all the mistakes that they made. Maybe they don't love that, but I love seeing it.
Yeah. He's good enough that at this point, I'm kind of expecting him to make these tougher one-on-one saves. Unfortunately, there's a couple of them a game right now, but he keeps coming up big and big boy, and he's able to get down quick, too. Yeah. So well done there. I think. Well, by the time the play ended, it was my favorite part of the game. In the moment, a little scary. That one time in the first half, their guy gets through, and everybody kind of converges all at once. The ball pops up, and fitting that we were in that outfield then. Jan on his back just kind of reaches up, catches like his little fly ball.
Yep.
Yeah. Guys, a game changer so far. For us.
He hasn't made any of those mistakes that we've seen on other occasions leading to goals. He's doing the best to keep the ball out of the net, and none of the goals so far, you could honestly say he should have done considerably better. I mean, you could always say in a perfect world, blah, 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 blah. But he wasn't at fault. He hasn't been at fault for any of the goals, which is the minimum you can ask for from your keeper. And he hasn't put his back line in any difficult situations in terms of playing out the back or anything like that. So hopefully that continues, because for the last couple seasons, that's been just such a huge source of goals, feels like we're just waiting for one incredibly stupid mistake from a member of the back line to gift a goal to the opposition. At least we haven't seen that so far. I think that's the biggest takeaway, the biggest positive so far from these matches is that there haven't been a lot of those boneheaded mistakes that we've gotten used to. Again, kind of the minimum you should expect from your back line is not actively gifting goals to the opposition. But we have not necessarily been used to that. So, especially against AV Alta and Knoxville, which are two of the trickier teams in the league based on their performance last season. So, there's a floor here that is looking more solid than there was last season. There's just a glaring hole in the ceiling that is still a little confusing about where it's going to be filled.
Yeah. One other person I wanted to kind of shout out a little bit was Ali Sasanka. Again, kind of stepped in. I don't think he was probably signed to be a regular starter, but needs must sometimes. And I think adding him into that midfield really helped to kind of
We had
solidify
a
it a bit
midfield.
more. Right. I we can argue what it might have done to some of the attack as a result because you basically dropped Freeman for Sasanka, nominally attacking minded player for a nominally defensive minded player, but it felt like it really helped to firm things up. I think it helped to free Amer up a
Mhm.
bit more to actually be on the ball and do things.
Mhm.
Uh, stack.
Mhm.
But I liked
And
what
we
it
were
did on that
pressing
level.
hard. Like,
Yeah.
they turned the ball over a lot. Like, Knoxville, honestly, like, that's why the result was extra frustrating is Knoxville was not playing well for large stretches of that match. They were sloppy. They were giving the ball away. They were not connecting their passes. And it felt high energy from the kickers. They were winning the ball back in the midfield. They were intercepting wayward passes. And so it really felt like there was a motivation. It wasn't coming together in front of goal in super clinical ways, but the midfield was actually in play. It felt
Mhm.
like the team was stepping forward as one and pushing the ball up the field in a way that felt like that had Knoxville on the back foot. So that's also what made the result all the more disappointing is because in those matches, if you look good, you look up for it, but you can't put the ball in the net. I mean, we're really we can't nobody's ever won a season on nil-nil draws. So there needs to be some sort of end product there because it looked good from the back. Like the movement from the back forward looked good. And so it was all the more disappointing that it was leading to very, very little in front of goal.
Yeah, but the positive side of that takeaway is there's another midfielder who's usable,
Yes.
right? Not just I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. There's been guys who have just been on the roster before, and it's like we don't really want this guy on the field. I feel as of today comfortable with Ollie being
We
out on the
have to
field.
qualify every time we say that things look good. We say for now, as of now,
Well,
don't
yeah, I
catch
mean,
us projecting October's team quality from March's results,
yeah,
okay?
I've seen this guy 3 times in my life that I know
Yeah,
of. He hasn't given me a reason to be anti him yet.
exactly, and that's all we're asking for as long as they can give us, is don't give us a reason to hate you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that seems like a perfect segue to we almost got out of there with a point, and then we didn't. Uh, so one thing that I had noticed, but I hadn't really put much stock into it up to that point, is as the substitutions were kind of happening, some guys got shifted around. Like Hayden, might be the first player in the history of the game to start the game at left back, end up on the right wing. Uh, Swiss Army knife there, I guess.
He's
Uh,
Darren's looking like me managing the Red Army team when we've got 6 injuries.
yeah. There you go. Little Kate Sawatsky here. Uh, and then we had some young guys coming in like Ashley
Every
Gallegos.
player on the bench except for James came
Yeah.
in.
So we definitely had some mixing and matching. Not even sure where Beckett was technically playing when he came in, other than kind of be a nuisance. And for the most part, it worked. But on that right side, our right side, their left side, there's definitely space. Now, granted, a lot of it's because the ball was over on the other side of the field a lot of the times, but there were times when they were looking for crosses, and it's USL League One. Crosses don't always hit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's like, oh, that guy would have had a ton of space if it was a halfway decent pass or whatever. That came back to bite us, on the goal. So, if you go back and watch the highlight, I think I figured out, what happened, there. Like, so the, the ball kind of got switched over to the benches, side, and if you watch at the very beginning of the highlight, you can see Miranda kind of dropping back, but then stepping forward a little bit, to mark some other dude. I'm not going to act like I know who the Knoxville guys are. I don't care who they are
Yeah.
for the most part. Uh, but I think it looked like Layden was on Dennis, uh, you know, at the beginning of that play. As the ball kind of gets shifted over to whichever idiot it was who ultimately crosses the ball, you know the kicker's defenders kind of rotate over, and it looked like either communication got lost or Miranda got lost because it didn't look like he rotated over, and that's why it looked like to a lot of people Dennis was offside because he was just all alone right there. You see the end of the play, like Mujib trying to run back and get to him,
Mm-hmm.
but Layden was over at the next defender over, and like Vinberg was over at the next attacker over, and so on. So I think it was a rotation issue, but uh, yeah, across from deep, Dennis, basically unmarked, 6 to 8 yards from goal. Jan is a king in goal, but even he had no prayer unless the ball was hit right at him at that
Yeah.
point. So, and not gonna lie, kind of didn't think there was gonna be a chance we would get it back after that.
Yeah, since we didn't look much like scoring. And to be fair, I think what's also a little frustrating is Knoxville have played 4 matches already this season in the league. We've only played 3. Obviously not a huge difference, but that guy already has 3 goals. So, they already have someone who has, I think they have that guy has the same number of goals as our team. Which to be fair, Kirkland has 2, so he's not far behind. But um yeah, goals can be scored. They have 5 goals this season already across those league matches, and we have 1. So
In fairness, they got to play Westchester.
that's true. That's true. But there's levels to this. There's unfortunately levels to this, and it would be nice if we could bring a guy off the bench who already had 3 goals this season, but we don't, and that's what happens when.
Oh, I think we have a guy who can come off the bench and score goals. I think the question is, should he be a guy coming off the bench,
That's
or
true.
or can we get the ball to these guys so they can have better chances at
Right.
scoring goals more than maybe one look a game?
Yeah, because
So, uh, anything else you want to mention about this game before we move on and just don't ever mention this game again?
um, I think last season, if you'd told us, eke out, only lose by 1 at Knoxville away, like, on paper, these results aren't necessarily bad. It's just watching the team, the questions that we had at the beginning of, like, where are any points going to come from? That question is looming larger and larger. It's great that we are looking decent against these teams, but there is no practical difference between losing 3-0 and losing 1-0. So, until we start seeing the possibility of scoring some goals and being able to turn a nervy 0-0 draw into a possible win, it's great that they've shored up the defense, but we're not necessarily seeing that translate into points on the board.
Yeah. I'm just going to be petty for a minute.
Go
Oh
for it.
my God, that play-by-play guy
Oh,
was
he was so
obnoxious.
bad.
First of all, you're not boys with all these guys. Stop calling them by their first name. It's not the number of times I heard "great save by Jan" or wow, what a kick by
Right, like,
Johan, or
Johan? Right, like, I don't know, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I don't know if that's the typical pronunciation. Maybe it is for this guy, but he
yeah,
also
like
needs to have the word hammer removed from his vocabulary because the highlights are a supercut of him describing every single shot as being hammered toward goal, regardless of how hard they were hit, let's be honest. He
yeah.
has one verb.
The other one, this one I know is not actually his fault because it's a sponsor thing. But what an annoying sponsor, calling, having to do the Bush's baked beans, little bit, on all those. Uh, yeah, I don't know if it was like for corner kicks or like certain restarts or whatever, but no, no,
No. You gotta respect the hustle at this level. Teams are getting money where they can, but my god, the Bush's baked beans replays.
yeah, yeah. So I I know we shouldn't be too picky because there was a time not all that long ago when if we were gonna if we got like a shaky phone cam stream via YouTube or some other shady site, if it's like all right, we're gold now, and now we have like an actual announcer, but come on, man, come on.
We have some standards.
Yeah, not many, but a couple, a couple. All right, so all that is done. You know, Knoxville's a thing that happened. Don't have to go back there again this year. There's a plus, to it. Next up, uh, Open Cup Wednesday, cruelly potentially April Fool's Day. Uh, we got Loudon 2024 rematch. I don't remember what technically that round was, but who cares? It's a rematch. Same place. Might have been the same time. I don't know. Uh, Kate, how are you feeling going into a cup game against Loudoun United of the USL Championship? Let me rephrase. How about that? How does this team, uh, find a way to, I think it's fair to say, pull the upset against the USL Championship team from up the road?
I think, like, the main positive is if you check Loudoun's also early season record, it's not looking much better than us. They also have 2 losses, a draw, and the only win is in the Open Cup. So, we're currently at least even on, track record. They have scored more goals than us, though, and unfortunately, that's the primary way that you win soccer games. So, I think that if we'd seen a handful of more goals at this point so far, I'd think I'd be more optimistic. I'm not saying I'm gonna have no optimism because obviously anything can happen in 90 minutes. Um, I'd feel more optimistic if I felt like I could see us nicking a goal. Whereas right now, we're not even nicking any goals against like opposition in our own league. Um, so the set pieces haven't looked particularly great. The one league goal that we did score was a kind of a fluke. So you can never say never. I just wish we'd seen a little bit more like threat from goals because then I felt like we could grind out like a 1-0 win. We take it to penalties. I don't know because this team has turned over so much that we don't have our we don't know who our takers are anymore. We have so many new guys in. I don't know how they are on pens, how many of them have taken pens. We had some I would say that's the outside of the match pens. When we went to penalties, we actually were a very good team. Loudoun was the only team that we lost to on penalties, I think in 2 seasons because they only went into the Open Cup, the USL Cup once. So in seasons past, I actually would have felt more confident. Right now, that's so much more of a dice roll. We have no idea what these new guys look like. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Anything can happen. I just without feeling like a goal could pop up somewhere, it's hard to see anything other than playing for a draw going to penalties, I guess.
Yeah, I think the flip side of that is if there's ever a style of play that is conducive to knockout, soccer, it's exactly this, kind. Be, very, compact. Don't beat yourself, and then try to nick one, somewhere. Seen that a million times around the world in different tournaments. Like smaller teams don't beat bigger teams by playing open flowing football,
It's
for the
true.
most part, right? So if you want to take the upside, I think that's your angle to take. This is not your older brothers Loudon team anymore. They're not a DCB team anymore. They got old men on the team these days. Their striker is named Thor, so that's fun, right? They were down in Tampa this weekend. They lost to the Rowdies 3-1. I believe Thor did score a goal for them.
Thor's
He's from
hot.
Iceland. He's from Iceland, yeah. Or I've seen all those Avengers movies. I don't remember where he's supposedly from in those movies. Otherwise, I would have made the
Asgard.
joke. That one, yeah, that one. But at least the last game, it looks like they played five in the back. Like, this is Fought Mob, so who knows what it really
Right.
looked like. Nominally, they played five, a back five. I can't imagine they're going to play so defensive against us. Because that'd be a little surprising. But
Mhm.
you know, stranger things have happened. Maybe they put a little bit of rotation in there. We don't have a game on Saturday, so I don't see any reason for Darren to hold guys back. If guys are ready to go, they're going to get have 10 days between Wednesday and the next game. Go for it. Like there's nothing to lose
Yeah.
right now.
Right. And that's why I hold back. Like, I'm not like actually pessimistic. I just wish, like, I wish we'd seen a little bit more, like, all right, like, I really feel like our corners are working. Like, I wish there was something we could hang our hat on and say, okay, like, if we could do XYZ, we might be able to nick a goal. Cause right now we're still trying to figure out what that XYZ is.
Mhm.
But we don't want to jinx them, but the defense has looked good. And so I would feel like that could give us a foothold in this match against a team like Loudon. It's just whether or not further up the field we can help ourselves, or are we turning it into a attrition
Look,
fest where we're trying to we put ourselves under so much pressure because we can't find an outlet.
get the ball into the box and maybe take a little tumble. Uh, you know, just
Craftiness.
saying. You make the ref.
Have to make a
Make your choice in
decision.
the moment. Yeah.
Mhm. Maybe, yeah, we haven't tried that effort yet, so maybe that is where our goals will come from.
So
Get a little
who
penalty
knows?
warm-up practice before
There's,
we try to take it to pens at the end.
hey, honor among thieves. Right. All right. So yeah, so that's coming up. It's on Wednesday. Reiner's not in our normal ticket package, so you got to get that ticket separate. So just make sure you do that. So
Mhm.
that way you're not getting really confused when you go up to the gate and can't find it if it's loaded in your Apple Wallet or wherever you like to keep all your digital tickets.
Yep, and
Uh,
also the ticket, the compensated ticket that we all get in our if you're a season ticket holder, um, where you can transfer what should have been the Tormenta match, you cannot use it for the Open Cup. So you do have to buy one. You can transfer that Tormenta ticket to any other regular season match and get an extra ticket to that match. You cannot use it for the Open Cup.
Very good point. Did not know that. So, Kate with the intel here. Way to go. Uh, so yeah, looking ahead for the team, like you said, play, on Wednesday, got the weekend off. Thanks, Tormenta. You know, shout out. Let's all think about how the dirt pile's doing down there right now, all alone. Uh, then after that, we've got only 2 league games this month, actually. We got an away game at Spokane. I don't care if they just got it handed to them 4-0 in Charlotte. That's going to be a tough game. We've
Mhm.
not had fun times the last 2 years in Spokane, and I got to think it's probably not going to be too much different this time around, unfortunately.
We really hope Simon Fitch didn't mess up. He didn't accidentally double agent against Charlotte, mistaking them for the kickers, because we really need him to pull a similar double agent performance against the kickers, because in case anyone missed it, he both scored an own goal, conceded a penalty, and also got beat so badly on the wing that he was running into the advertising boards while his guy was rolling an easy cross across the 6-yard box. So was not a great night for Mr. Fitch down in Charlotte. So hopefully we'll see more of the same next weekend in Spokane.
Yeah. And then we've got Omaha. Also, not an easy game. They've been pretty solid so far. So, and then it's a useless cup game against Charlotte after that. I've made my point perfectly clear by A, how I call that competition, and B, just everything I've done just absolutely crapping on that competition the last 2 years. Whatever. But yeah, the reason I bring this up is there's a very realistic world where we're going into May and still sitting on an offer in the league, right?
Yep.
Again, it's only 2 more games, so it's a little bit of a potentially misleading, but I don't think you ever want to be in a position where you're having to claw up,
No.
And we're looking at a very realistic. I mean, we're already kind of in that spot, but 3 games in, it's just hard to say it's clawing. But other teams will continue to accumulate some points, and we might be looking at May 1st against Westchester as a very, very early bring this full circle, Kate's favorite topic, come to Jesus kind of game.
Yeah, because everyone else that we're playing over the next couple weeks is in the playoff places currently. So,
or just
not in our league.
Established, well-run organizations that I think smart money would be. They're probably going to be competing for not just playoffs but home games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's what's coming up in the near future. Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about all of that, as the month of April progresses. But we also got something else, we're going to start talking a lot more about, and by we, I especially mean Kate.
Yay!
Ivy news is starting to come out, nice and rapid. So
Yep.
Kate, where do you want to start with a little Ivy update right now?
I think the big one is the head coaching announcement. So it is announced that our boy, Rob Ukrop, will be coaching the Ivy this season. I say this with a slight chuckle because, as far as I can tell, the reason he is doing this is because he's the only person affiliated with the organization with the appropriate licensing that they could secure in time. And the reason we can infer that is when last season Owusu was out of town coaching his ECNL team or whatever in Washington State, Rob stepped in as the interim head coach for one match because no one else on the coaching team had the appropriate license. Owusu,
you know what they always say, the best ability is
availability.
Yeah, there we go.
And yeah, Owusu was supposed to come back, but when they were going through the hiring process for him, the sort of bringing him back process, he was at American University, and their legal team, their compliance team, has some archaic rule that their college coaches cannot have contact with unsigned high school students, which is completely ridiculous, as basically every high-level coach that I know that isn't employed by a club is a college coach. That's kind of how they make their money through the rest of the year. So he was not allowed, while employed there, to coach the Ivy. And he actually is at George Mason now, so he's not even with American, but they were not able to kind of get that over the line in time. So,
all right.
Thus, Robbie Krupp.
3 years, 3 coaches. Consistency. We love consistency.
They're going for the reverse Kickers effect. They're saying, all right, people aren't happy with the same coach for this many years at the Kickers. we're going to hit him with the Uno reverse and have the other team have a different coach every single season.
Yeah. So Rob will be on the sidelines, and again, to be fair, he's got a lot of experience, coaching, especially girls and women's soccer. So it's not like it's a totally random
No.
pick. But yeah, I definitely see where optically it looks a little odd.
They were put in a tough position with Owusu's coaching job
Issue.
because they really did want to bring him back and he wanted to come back. So clearly nobody saw that being a problem when he took that other job. But yeah, I think the bigger question, which I'm sure when we get into Vinecast, is we're all kind of thinking just long term, what's the strategy here? We're thinking that across the board with this organization of sort of where these teams are looking long term. And so obviously we're probably not expecting him to stay on as head coach, but who knows? Crazier things have happened.
And I feel like they've probably made probably close to a dozen or so player announcements already, right?
Yep. They're getting the names in, a lot of new faces, which is exciting because after 2 seasons, if you sign upperclassmen, they're going to graduate. So this is kind of moving into the next cohort of players who are making a name for themselves collegiately and are finally getting on the radar for coach teams like the Ivy. So that's exciting because we'll get sort of a fresh batch of players to hopefully entertain us.
I know it's early. Any names that you're especially excited about?
Macy Landell's coming back, isn't she? I'm excited about that one.
I think I saw that one. Yeah.
I'd say that's the one that we haven't done our deep dive yet into how everyone's done collegiately. But I think the other exciting thing is we're starting to see some folks recruited from outside, maybe Metro Richmond, which is always good because it means either the team is an attractive prospects for those players or the recruiters are looking a little further afield and hopefully widening the net, and hopefully that makes the team more competitive. We'll have to see, but it's exciting to see not just the strict adherence to Metro Richmond.
Yeah. And then I think the other notable thing, that's technically Ivy related is that Ivy alum are getting paid to play soccer.
They're going pro. Yeah.
Officially getting paid to play soccer.
And one of them is even starting in the NWSL. Shout out Cameron Simmons, who not just got signed by Utah Royals, but has made multiple starts so far this season. So she's playing at outside back, which is not necessarily where we always saw her for the Ivy, but it's where she played collegiately a lot of the time. So it's exciting to see her get starts in one of the best leagues in the world, even if it's not maybe where she expected to be going pro, what position she expected to be going pro for. But yeah, really, really huge. You can turn on the TV and watch an Ivy player on mainstream television.
Yeah, and what's her name? Cameron Miller. Playing out at Bay FC now.
Yep.
For me, that was a surprise because it felt like she was solidly number 2 or even number 3 for us. And then good on her. Again, get played to play pro sports. Well done.
Yeah,
but
great game.
That one, I was like, really?
Yeah. I think we all said really, but it goes to show that for a lot of female athletes, persistence is the number one thing that'll take you further, actually interest in wanting to do it. There's a lot of great players who don't want to pursue the grind professionally, who don't want to do what for many is a pretty thankless job for very little financial reward. So yeah, good on her for having that goal and doing what it takes to pursue it. She haven't yet seen her in the team yet for Bay FC, but definitely checking regularly to see. Hopefully she'll get in the squad at some point soon.
Awesome. Anybody else, out there that we?
Kana is continuing to play really well. She's in Finland.
Talk about grind.
Yeah, and according to the social media translated from Finnish from her current team, which another name I can't even begin to try to pronounce, she was named one of the captains this season. So really good for her that, she has really made a place for herself in that team. She's in a whole other country from both her citizenship country and where she went to college. So she is really showing her willingness to do what it takes to play pro soccer. And who knows, maybe she'll continue to grow and we'll see her in a league that we can more easily watch regularly at some point in the future.
I mean, speak for yourself. I'm always up on the. I definitely know it's called the Finnish Women's League, right?
Yeah, that's I'm sure how it translates.
Yeah. How are you spending your Saturdays or Sundays?
Depending on the time of day and also the season.
Well,
and
I thought you were a real fan, Kate. Gosh.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. But all that and more coming in more depth when we start our preseason previews for the Ivy. Look for that in April because that season sneaks up on you. We are like, oh my God, we're like 6 weeks out from the home opener in the Kick It Up Cup or whatever, this invented charity match that's raising money for RVA access. So it's for a great cause and it's against a familiar opponent from our division in the first season of the Ivy. We're no longer in that division, but familiar opponent and for a great cause. So everyone make sure you've got your tickets already for the Ivy's home opener, not league opener, but home opener.
Yeah, I believe that's May 9th. So
May 9th.
I think they're kind of maneuvering it to try to be able to do a Ivy and kickers are away, but do a double header like that to be able to put it on the big screen after. So could be a pretty cool way to spend a Saturday.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, we've gone over a lot here today. Any final thoughts, comments that you'd like to leave out there for everybody to know about?
Let's continue to change the course of this year's Open Cup by showing up so positively for the team on Wednesday. Maybe we can be that 12th man, the 11th man, even as was the case at our last home match. We can try our best to get the ball in the goal through the power of song.
Excellent. I can add, two things in here. Open Cup matches, A, they're fun. B, usually a little bit easier to get to the merch, trailer, because you got to buy your own individual, ticket. So that's usually not the worst, time if you need to be able to get your, jersey. Tally and the crew, they can turn that around if you want to get it customized and have it ready for you, pretty quick. Just saying. That might be the strategy if you haven't picked up either of the jerseys for this year. Prime time, to be able to do that, or go through all the leftovers from last year. There's usually a couple steals that you can be able to find if you are patient enough.
That's true.
Not when there's all the people normally there for a regular game.
Yeah.
This one, maybe.
Good point.
And two, I can personally say I've been in a decent mood. We're recording this on Sunday night, and the happiest time of year happened right before we started recording. It's Duke Elimination Day, y'all. Everybody should be out there celebrating. True national holiday.
Schools will be closed tomorrow across the nation.
Yeah, rejoice. Yeah, that wraps it up, for us. So, Kate, thanks for hopping on, talking a lot of random stuff we went through today. Listeners, thank you all for listening. Like, subscribe, all that stuff that everybody says on all their podcasts.
Don't forget to tell Elliot you miss him. Elliot, we miss you. Come back soon.
Or not.
Hey, be nice.
I'm not going to feel bad for a guy, going to the Caribbean right now. So
fair.
He made his choice. Yep.
Unfortunately,
he didn't invite us. So
That's true. If any all-inclusives want to sponsor an episode of this podcast, fly us out. We'll happily record from anywhere you want to put us, as long as we get a free vacation out of it.
I'm in, maybe.
If I can get the time off work. All right.
I don't care about that. Do I really want to go where you want me to go? But yeah. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll be back, I don't know, sometime later in the week, next week, to talk about all things that happened at City Stadium in the Open Cup against Loudoun. Otherwise, we'll talk to you all next time.